Hey guys, welcome to today's Bitcoin video where we are going to touch on the higher time frame and the lower time frame analysis. As you can see before you, Bitcoin is following this pitchfork very nicely. We're going to go into detail talking about this. Now, I have been mentioning of recent that I've been looking for that 30k target. So that is a ballpark figure. We're going to home in on that, talk about some more precise price levels, but more importantly, we're going to talk about why that level is so key. Now, you can see before you on the chart that we have a corrective count suggesting that we have a pullback from 30k. Now, don't forget what I said previously. I am open to both ideas, whether we see a big pullback at 30k or whether we see price surge through 30k and push even higher. But for me, I really do want to see how price reacts around 30k with it being such an instrumental level. So these are the main things we're going to discuss in today's video. If interested, stay tuned. Okay guys, so first things first, just want to say a massive thank you to you all because the like to view ratio on the last video was very flattering indeed. So yeah, you are certainly pulling your weight and I will continue to produce those videos as promised as you show your support. So if you are not subscribed yet, do click that subscribe button, do click the notification bell if you want to see my updates before everyone else, and don't forget to give this video a like. As always, feel free to leave a comment. Anyone who leaves a comment will be entering the raffle, and last week's comments will go into the raffle for today's video, which will be done at the end of the video. So with that said, let's focus on the Bitcoin technical analysis. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, I wanted to highlight why 30k is so significant. So first of all, I think the best thing that we can focus on to begin with will be the BLX chart. So I'm just going to bring that up, and basically this chart is brought up here because it shows you the long time frame count. Now there's a couple of different ways of looking at this, and the count that I have here explains why I am looking at this run into 30k as a bit of resistance potentially. Okay, so there's a potential count of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to here to make a larger scale wave 1, with this being our wave 2, this being our 3, and we are still working on the 4, which may turn out to be a complex running flat pattern, with this being your A. We're working on the B, which as I say could come into resistance at 30k, and then we then see the C wave come down after that, so to make a running flat. Okay, so that's the count that I'm cautious of where as we approach 30k. Of course, the alternative scenario is that this is just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves complete, and then following those 5 waves we have seen a correction, and now we are going impulsive once more into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, much higher, and yeah, that could certainly see us surge through the 30k mark. Okay, so these are the two counts to be very aware of in my opinion, and but the 30k level poses a potential major resistance if we're looking at this as a running flat wave 4, and so that's why I do have that caution at around 30k, and I want to see how price reacts around that level. So going back to the chart, why 30k is significant? Well, one thing I really like to look at when projecting the target for the B wave is a Fibonacci projection, where we just do a fib retracement of the A wave all the way down to here, and you can see right here we've got a 1.236 fib projection, and that comes in at roughly 30,400. Okay, so 30k is very much a ballpark figure. Yeah, you can see a much more closer target would be around 30,400. Okay, now on top of that, if we do a fib extension of this wave here and extend it from the bottom here, you'll see we're still getting that confluence in and around 30k. So here this actually comes into 30,800. Okay, so you can see we're kind of spanning from 30k all the way up to 31k, where we could actually find this resistance. So this is where we get the 1.382 fib extension. Okay, so we're seeing some very nice confluence in and around these 30k levels. So just cleaning up the chart to take these off just a moment. There is another key fib projection that you can do, which is just doing a fib projection of this move down here. And again, you get another reason for resistance in and around 30k. So here, 30,700 or 30,800 if we round it up, you get the 1.618 fib projection. Okay, very often the 1.618 fib projection will offer some degree of resistance. So you can see all the way ranging from roughly 30k up to 30,800, we do get a lot of Fibonacci confluence in and around these levels. Okay, so this is why I'm cautious, because although we're seeing this really parabolic price action here and here, this could all very possibly be part of a bigger corrective sequence. So that's something I'm very mindful of. We have seen decreasing volume as we've gone up with this move. If we just pull on the volume just a moment, we can see the volume profile descending since March 2020 all the way up until this point. Now, someone actually made a really good point in the comments previously, and I cannot ignore that. So basically they mentioned, actually, if we consider the dollar volume rather than the transaction volume, we are actually at record highs, because obviously this is transaction volume, it's the number of transactions that are made, but the transactions that are made are at levels where the price of Bitcoin is much higher. So if we take into consideration the dollar volume, I believe actually, and it looks very plausible that we are at record highs right now. So that's actually a really good valid point. And yeah, it's again a good argument for the fact that we could certainly be seeing impulsive price action going up from all the way back here and continuing higher. Now, there was a very interesting point on the subject of open interest on the futures market, and if you want to see more about that, where I go into the high time frame count in more detail, then check out this video here on my channel where we talk about the 30k target. 11 days ago we spoke about that target. So yeah, do check out that video if you want to see a bit more detail about the higher time frame count. Okay, so just coming back to this, so those are the main reasons for this 30k resistance. And then just this, we've got a few more Elliott wave counts, just breaking down the final leg here in this final B wave. So I've got it really as all looking really corrective coming up, and we've got it as a W, an X, and a Y, where the Y is made up of an A, B, C, where the C is very extended relative to the A. On top of that, I do want to mention this pitchfork here. So what we're really looking at is a original Andrews pitchfork, where we got our first pivot, second pivot, and third pivot. So this is actually following, as I say, an original pitchfork, which is at the steepest gradient. And you can see how we're using these lines here. If you want to know which lines we're using, we've got obviously the median line here. We've got the 1 and the 2 standard deviations, and I've added on the 0.25 and the 0.5 because it's looking at a higher time frame. We do need these additional lines, and you can see how we're respecting the lines really nicely, where the 0.25 has been really significant. Okay, now as you can see, we're on the north side of the median line now, so a good show of strength, but we have come into the 0.25. so as I mentioned, 0.25 was key on the other side of the pitchfork here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it act to some level of resistance here on this side of the pitchfork also. Now the question is, will that be ultimate resistance that takes us all the way down, maybe to the lower median line before pushing higher again, or will it act as just temporary resistance and allow us actually to surge higher to the next pitchfork line, which would be the 0.5? So these are the main things to take into consideration. But as I say, 30k will give confluence with this 0.25 line here of the pitchfork. Okay, so now just focusing on the lower time frame, we've got the 15-minute chart here. Basically, since we had that major bull flag that we spoke about for some time, we actually consolidated, making this bull flag above the median line of this major original pitchfork that we've just spoken about. Now, on the lower time frame, just looking at the breakout, going higher from this range here, I've got this 5-wave count that we're just playing out right here, where I've got this as the wave 1, the 2, the 3, we're working on the 4, and then I see a 5th wave finishing off this move to 30k, at which I want to see how price reacts before deciding where we go from there. But you'll see if we go, so actually you can see the pitchfork's been held really nicely. So really nicely held by the lower median line, ranging between the median line where it's acted as a bit of resistance. Then when it broke out, it acted as support into the upper median line, taking us all the way to the upper warning line where we had to have that sell-off. Okay, now the question is, has the wave 4 finished here and it's just going to continue higher, or has it got another leg down? Will it be a bit more extended? Okay, so one way I like to determine that is just using a bit of Fibonacci. So actually, if we actually go on the linear scale, you'll find the Fibonacci levels working very well. So if we do a Fib extension, so from here, just looking at the wave 1, extending it from the end of the wave 2, you can see we pretty much hit the 2.618 level very nicely. So we've got a nice wave 3 equals 2.618 extension of wave 1. And then if we take a look at how far wave 3 has retraced, it looks like we have actually retraced already beyond the 0.382, which we generally want to see to satisfy a classical wave 4. So you can see we have hit the 0.382 retracement in and around 26.2k. So that has been tagged. So technically this could just push higher now, and you can see the median line currently acting as a bit of support. Now, that said, it doesn't look too impulsive following this zigzag move down here, finding support off the median line. It doesn't seem to have made 5 waves up in an impulsive fashion. So there's 2 potential ways it could play out, in my opinion. We might get 3 down, 3 up, and another 3 down to find support off of the lower warning line in and around the 50% retracement here at 25.5k. Okay, that's one way it could play out. Alternatively, we could see that continued strength coming in and continuing to push higher in this kind of overlappy price action, and we could actually play out some kind of symmetrical triangle, for example, where it could be an A, B, C, D, E, something like this, and then we push higher to make the final leg up. So we could just be consolidating into a symmetrical triangle right now. Alternatively, of course, there's so many different ways it could play out. We could even get a running flat, an expanded flat. So we could just be working on the B wave of a flat pattern if this is our A in, and then we're just making the B wave, which may come up to here. We then might get a C down to here to make it a running flat, or a C come down to here to make it an expanded flat. So these are all the different scenarios really that you can look out for with regards to these corrective patterns. But what I'm really focusing on right now is this pitchfork here. And as long as we're above the median line, it's certainly looking strong. In validation of this, move pushing up here will be coming beneath the lower warning line. So if we lose this lower warning line, I'll be deeply concerned about a much larger retracement. But as it stands, I'm still very much of the opinion that we push into 30k. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about the Camarilla pivots. And on the hourly time frame here, we're seeing some really interesting price action. So you can see on the hourly time frame, the Camarilla pivots, the period here represents 1 week, and you can see actually as we came into the end of the previous week, we actually finished beneath the R4 here. Okay, so a little bit of a sign of weakness, failing to close the week above the R4. Considering the fact that we managed to break above it, it would have been nice to see us stay above the R4 to confirm that we are going into a major trend to the upside still. However, as I say, a little bit of a sign of weakness, finishing beneath the R4. Now, going into the next period, what that generally means is that you should look for a bit of resistance at either the R3 or the R4. And again, as you can see, the R4 sits at around 29.841. So again, very close to that 30k region. Of course, we can get a bit of a wick above it. You may get a few candles even above the R4, taking us into roughly around 30k to 31k. And then potentially we might see a reversal at that 30k region. So now back on the daily time frame, I just want to summarize basically what I'm looking out for here. As I say, I'm looking for a run into 30k. For me, I've been looking at this as being very bullish from 24k into 30k. For me, 30k is a take profit level. Yeah, of course, price could surge higher. It could all turn out to be massively impulsive on the higher time frames, and we could fly through 30k. But in my opinion, regardless, there's going to be some selling pressure coming in at 30k. So I'm going to protect my profits at that point. Of course, if we see a bit of a bull flag, so we get rejected, but it's only going sideways in a very sideways bit of price action here, I'll be very happy to jump back in looking for further long positions. Okay. I don't see us just shooting through this level too cleanly beyond 31k. As I say, there's so many reasons for resistance at this point. Even if it does push through, I'd expect it to retest this level pretty soon. Alternatively, if we actually go up into 30k and then we get a massive rejection with a 5-wave impulse to the downside, I would then certainly be very cautious and give a lot more credit to the idea of this being the end of a major B wave and us seeing a major retracement to the downside. So that's really what I'm looking at. I want to see how price reacts at this 30k level. Do we come down in corrective price action, or do we see a major sell-off with an impulse to the downside? So that is going to be what helps me determine whether I jump back in for longs or actually start looking for shorts. Okay guys, so that pretty much wraps up my reasons for caution in and around 30k. And if you found value in today's video, don't forget to leave a like. As always, feel free to leave your comments. And yeah, as I mentioned, we'll go into our raffle now, where I've already put the URL for the last video. We've drawn the comments, of which there are roughly 46 comments. And if we run the raffle now just to see who won. So that's Kabir Ahmed. So been following me for a long time now. So thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for the comments. Yeah, so basically you just need to send me an email. Email is within the description of the video and you will get free access to the juice. All right. Well done to Kabir Ahmed. And I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Take care.